Hi, I'm Bruce Music, and welcome to the third video in this series about how to navigate through the treacherous stage of your relationship called the power struggle stage. And if you haven't been watching the previous videos, the power struggle stage happens right after the romance begins to fade away, and usually ends up with one or both partners fighting for power inside the relationship. And in this video series, we're taking a look at how to navigate through this power struggle stage and turn it into an opportunity for deeper intimacy, connection, create security, and a romance that lasts a lifetime. Now in this video, I'm going to be teaching you a powerful technique for how to cool off an argument when it starts spiraling out of control into a full-blown fight. But I feel obliged to issue a kind of a warning before I teach you this technique, because this technique is so powerful that if you practice it and master it, what you'll probably find is the people you use it with will have a habit of falling in love with you. So use it very wisely. So let's take a look at how a normal conversation can turn into an argument and then spiral out of control into a fight. I'd like you to think of a good conversation like a good tennis match, in that there's two people playing and there's a ball that gets hit back across the net. And the ball is a metaphor for the conversation or the message that's being communicated between two people. And like in any good tennis game, in any good conversation, when you hit the ball across the net, the other person hits it back to you. And just like a good conversation, it would be no fun if you hit the ball across the net and the other person didn't hit it back. In psychological circles, your willingness to hit the ball back is called your responsiveness. And it turns out that responsiveness is one of the keys to creating a long-term romantic relationship that lasts, that's full of intimacy and connection. So let's take a look at what a responsive conversation may look like.
Honey, I'm so tired. I had an exhausting day at work.
I understand, baby. I guess you're not so excited about cooking tonight, right?
Yeah, you got that right.
Well, why don't we get takeout instead, and then you don't have to cook?
Oh, that sounds like a wonderful idea. Maybe we can rent a movie while we're at it.
Oh yeah, let's get the one we were talking about the other night.
And the conversation's off to a great start with both partners responding to each other. On the other hand, here's what an unresponsive conversation might look like.
Honey, I'm so tired. I had an exhausting day at work.
Uh-huh.
I really don't feel like cooking tonight.
Well, why don't you just get takeout?
Well, what do you want?
I don't know. Choose something for me.
Oh, geez, you're so indecisive. Do I have to make all the decisions in this marriage?
Oh, here we go again. It's always my fault, isn't it?
And this conversation, on the other hand, is destined to escalate into a fight. Can you see the difference? The difference is that in the first conversation, the partners were responding to each other. In the second conversation, they may have been talking to each other, but they were unresponsive emotionally. And the research shows that responsiveness is one of the key predictive factors in predicting whether or not a relationship will last. In fact, the statistics go like this. In stable marriages that lasted a lifetime, both partners were highly responsive to each other, responding to each other 80% of their time each time their partner reached out for attention. Whereas marriages that ended in divorce, partners were unresponsive and responded less than 50% of their time to their partner reaching out for connection and attention. So the first distinction I want to leave you with is that your ability to respond, your responsiveness, is a key factor in determining whether or not your relationship will last or whether or not it will end breaking up. Also, the second distinction I want to leave you with is that your ability to be responsive in a conversation to your partner will determine whether or not your conversations are fun, light-hearted, intimate, connected, sexy, and loving, or whether or not they escalate into full-blown fights with one of you sleeping on the couch. Know what I mean? So how can we be responsive to our partners when we're in the middle of a fight or when we're triggered or upset? Well, the first thing you want to do is you want to stop hitting your own balls back to your partner or hitting them aimed at your partner's head and begin returning the balls that they've served to you. So your partner's going to serve a ball across the net, and there might be some kind of communication, and you hit that one ball over the net back to them. One ball on the court at a time. Those are the rules of tennis, and the same in a good conversation. When your partner's game is over, you're going to have your turn to serve your ball over the net, and they'll respond and hit your ball back. And when you begin to do that, you begin to play a game, and a dance in the conversation begins to happen. Rather than both of you serving balls at each other at the same time, it turns into a war zone where everybody takes casualties on both sides. And there's a powerful way to do this that I call having a reflective conversation. It's been called many names by many great teachers. I just call it a reflective conversation because I think that's the most descriptive name for it. It turns out that human beings in a relationship, what we want more than anything is to feel gotten and understood, or to feel heard and understood by our partner. But we were never taught this as a skill at school. We were taught to speak, but we were actually never taught how to listen. We just assumed that if we understood English, we could listen. But we were never taught how to listen in a way that our partner feels heard and understood. And I'm willing to bet that half of the arguments that happen in your relationship or have happened in your past relationships are because you or your partner have not felt heard and not felt gotten by each other. So how do you make your partner feel heard and understood? Well, it's actually pretty simple. All you need to do is reflect back to them what you've understood about what they said. So basically say back to them, paraphrasing what they said, so that they get that you heard them and you understood them. And if you didn't get it correct, they can then correct you. So it's pretty simple, it's not rocket science. And it might look a little bit like this. Here's an example that's slightly more serious than the previous examples. It'll demonstrate to you how you can use this in your own relationship to create instant connection in the middle of a fight with your partner.
Honey, I'd love to have a reflective conversation with you. Are you free right now?
Sure, love, what's up?
You know last night when we were at dinner and we joked about our sex life in public?
Uh-huh.
Well, I was really embarrassed when you did that.
Okay, so let me see if I understand you. When I joked about our sex life at dinner last night, you felt embarrassed. Did I get it?
Yes.
Is there more?
Yes. I really appreciate it if you wouldn't talk about our sex life in public. I know you don't mean to be disrespectful, but I am just not as comfortable about talking about sex as you are.
So if I heard you accurately, what I'm hearing you say is that you're less comfortable than I am about talking about sex, and you'd rather that I didn't talk about sex in public. Did I get it?
Not quite. It's not that I mind you talking about sex with our friends. It's that I feel uncomfortable talking about our sex life in public.
Ah, okay, I get it. So talking about sex in public's fine, but talking about our sex life feels uncomfortable for you, and you'd rather I didn't do that. Is that right?
Yes.
Is there anything more?
No, that's all. Thank you.
I'm sorry I made you feel uncomfortable last night. That wasn't my intention, honey, and I'll make sure I don't talk about our sex life in public again.
So I'm hearing you say that you regret making me uncomfortable and you're not going to talk about our sex life in public. Is that right?
You got it, baby.
Is there more?
No, I love you.
Oh, I love you too.
So before I explain each step in this reflective conversation, you're probably thinking, who speaks like this? This is weird. And I don't blame you, and I promise you I'm not going to ask you to speak like this in public. But if you master this technique and begin to use it in your relationship, something magical will happen. Tension will begin to dissolve. Your partner's anger will disappear. And if you stick with the conversation and see it through to completion, you'll take your relationship to new heights of intimacy, connection, and love that you may have never experienced before. Okay. Let's take a look at how you can have your own reflective conversations with your partner step by step. So the first step is to request a reflective conversation. So if you find yourself in an argument that you fear might be escalating into a fight, well, you can just say to your partner, honey, can we have a reflective conversation, please? And if they say yes, well, then you're in. And the next thing you're going to do is you're going to choose who's going to go first. That is to say, who's going to be the speaker. And the person who speaks first, we're going to call the sender. And the person who listens, we're going to call the receiver. So let's assume for this example that you're the receiver and your partner's the sender. So the third step is your partner, the sender, is going to send their message. And your job as the receiver is going to be just to listen. You don't say a word, you just listen. And when they stop, you're going to paraphrase back to them in your own words what you understood that they've said. Personally, I like to reflect back using the sentence stem, if I heard you accurately, what I hear you saying is ... And when you have, you're going to check in with them that you got it right by saying, did I get it? If you didn't get it, they'll tell you which part of their message you didn't understand properly. And then you can paraphrase it, reflect it back to them again until they confirm that you did get it. Once they've confirmed that you did get it, the next question you're going to ask the sender is there more? If the sender says that there's no more, well then you can switch roles and you can become the sender and send your message and they listen to you. Now, I understand if this may feel a little bit overwhelming in the beginning, like a lot to remember. So I made you a document down below this video that you can download and print out and keep handy around the house, so that when you next get into an argument or you feel a conversation turning into an argument and the tension rising, you can just grab the piece of paper, say to your partner, hey, can we have a reflective conversation, please? I feel like the tension's increasing here. And the two of you can use the document to run through step by step, and before you know it, it'll become second nature, and your conversations will very rarely escalate into full-blown war where you're firing shots at each other. They'll turn into fun tennis matches where you're bouncing a ball back across the net to each other and feeling heard and gotten and understood, and the love and connection deepens and increases in your relationship. So here's a couple of tips for making your reflective conversations as transformative as possible. Tip number one person speaks at a time only. This way you always feel like you're being heard. Tip number two, the sender is always going to speak in bite-sized chunks. Okay, so maybe 30 seconds at a time. And then the person who's the receiver can reflect back a bite-sized chunk rather than having to reflect back 10 minutes worth of download, right? So 30 seconds to a minute at a time seems to be a good balance. Tip number three is the sender is going to own their words. They're going to use I statements. You're going to take full responsibility for your experience of what's going on for you. You're not going to point fingers at your partner and say, you did this and you did that. Tip number four, if you can and it feels good to, sit knee to knee with your partner and hold your partner's hand or touch your partner. Have some kind of physical touch with your partner. Now, some people, when they're in the middle of conflict, the last thing they want to do is have physical touch. In that case, it might be better to step back. Ask your partner what they'd prefer and figure out something that works for you. And tip number five is hug your partner afterwards. When you're finished with a conversation and it ends in a loving space, hug your partner and end it lovingly. And what you'll do is you'll train each other that every time you have an argument and you use this technique, it ends in love. And you'll want to use this technique. Your partner will want to use this technique. And before you know it, your arguments won't even escalate into fights anymore. They'll begin to end in these beautiful moments where the two of you just feel connected and loving and gotten and heard and understood. And like your partner's the only person in the world who just truly understands you. And that's what I want for you. And that's why I'm teaching you this technique. That's why I'm starting the Love at First Fight coaching program shortly. And that's why I'm making these videos for you. So you can have that experience instead of the horrible experience of breaking up that most people have during the power struggle stage. So where would you use a reflective conversation? Well, the first way you might use it would be to actually request one. So maybe you've got something on your mind that you're a little nervous about talking to your partner about, and you suspect it might be a touchy subject and might escalate into an argument or an opportunity for the two of you to be disconnected. Then you might say to your partner, honey, have you got some time this afternoon between 4 and 5 p.m. where we can just spend an hour and have a reflective conversation? So you formally request it. That's one way to use it. Another way to use it is when you're having a conversation and you notice that the tension's rising. Before it gets out of control, you might say to your partner, hey, honey, can we just have a reflective conversation? And then you can de-escalate the conflict straight away. I often use it when my partner's sharing with me about how their day went and they've had a really tough day and they're sharing with me. I just reflect back to them what they're saying so they experience being heard and gotten. We're not even having an argument or a fight at all, but I just use it naturally so that she feels heard and she feels gotten and she feels loved and she knows that I'm interested in what she's saying. You could even use it with your children. You could use it at work with your boss or with your employees, especially when things get heated. This kind of technique is used in hostage negotiation and in conflict resolution all around the world. So over time, as the two of you become more and more reliable to use this technique, your relationships are going to become safer and safer for the two of you to open up and be vulnerable and share with each other. And those sensitive conversations that might have previously ended with one of you sleeping on the couch are going to end with both of you sleeping in each other's arms in bed together. I could speak for hours on how to make this technique even more effective, and we'll be going deeper into it in the Love at First Fight coaching program, which I'll tell you about in the next video. So if you want to be notified before anybody else when the Love at First Fight coaching program opens, please pop your email in the box down below and click the button, and I'll send you an email as soon as we open the doors to that program before I let everybody else know. So I hope you found this video useful, and I hope you show it to your partner and you print out the document down below and you use the technique in your relationship. Then please leave me a comment and let me know what you thought of the video, and let me know your success stories of how this actually works. Go and have a conversation like this with your partner tonight, and let me know how it goes. Please click the like button down below and share it on Facebook, email it to your friends, and we can spread the word about how to de-escalate conflict and help people all around the world create relationships that have more love and build a romance that lasts a lifetime. So this is Bruce Music signing off, wishing you more love than you know how to handle. Have an amazing day, and I'll talk to you in a couple of days when Love at First Bite coaching program opens. Talk to you soon. Bye.